starts right now. Good Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janelle Wang.
And I'm Raj Mathai. A lot of new developments today, including our schools. We're also joined by Jessica Aguirre.
Raj and Janelle, it is official. School is out for 6 Bay Area counties, and that has huge implications for high schoolers, especially for juniors getting ready for that all-important year. What happens to the SAT and the ACT? What are they supposed to be doing? Coming up a little bit in the show, I talked to a testing specialist about what juniors and their families should be doing and whether that test is eliminated altogether.
Thanks, Jessica. We want to get to some breaking news out of L.A., where moments ago, Mayor Eric Garcetti announced people will have to cover their faces to enter any essential business. Beginning Friday, if people aren't wearing face coverings, essential businesses can refuse service. This applies to grocery stores, pharmacies, and other types of businesses.
That's a big move. Here in the Bay Area, Santa Clara County Health Officer Dr. Sarah Cody says the rate of coronavirus cases is slowing down. Before, the new cases were doubling in Santa Clara County every few days. Now it's slowed to about every 2 weeks, the doubling rate. Dr. Cody says it's largely because people are staying at home, but warns we aren't out of the woods yet.
And take a look at the latest numbers across the Bay Area today. Almost 4,000 reported cases. The death toll, 109 people. Santa Clara County has nearly 1,300 cases. Every county except Sonoma reported new cases today. We have yet to hear from Marin and Mendocino counties. Well, doctors and nurses are being hailed as the heroes of this pandemic, but now they're saying they're also paying a price: community fear and social isolation.
Yeah, Janelle, in part this comes because of what they wear, the scrubs. Damian Trujillo spent the day at Good Sam Hospital in San Jose. It's something you'll see only on NBC Bay Area.
Well, you see them coming and going from Good Samaritan Hospital, but doctors and nurses now say they have to watch what they wear when they're in public. They leave the hospitals and clinics after a long shift dealing with the unknown, filled with uncertainty because of the pandemic. And now, to make matters worse, NBC Bay Area has learned that their scrubs are becoming a stigma for these first responders.
We have had some nurses that have said anecdotally that they've been in the grocery store or somewhere else after they've left work. And though while people are grateful, they don't want them anywhere around them in their scrubs because there's a fear that they're carrying a COVID-19.
We heard from nurses at another South Bay hospital with the same story. Scrubs have become a source of fear for many.
It definitely doesn't help them when it comes to all of the stress that they're dealing with. But, you know, there's some education that still needs to go on. It's not the public's fault. It's nobody's fault when it comes to it. It's a novel coronavirus.
So the chief nursing officer at Good Sam says his staff is now allowed to shower and change into civilian clothes at the hospital so they can go home without worrying about the negative public reaction.
Doing our part when it comes to being able to give them the scrubs so that they can go home in normal clothes and not have to worry about either the scarlet letter attached to it or bringing home anything to their family.
The heroes of the pandemic dealing with an invisible enemy, now having to hide their own profession from an anxious public. The chief nursing officer here says data shows that there is no real concern over infections through hospital scrubs, but he understands the public concern. We're in San Jose. I'm Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
Damian, thank you. Let's take a look at the rate at which the cases are increasing per day in Santa Clara County. That's the hardest hit county in the Bay Area. From Sunday, March 29th to March 30th, there was an increase of 202 cases. That's a big jump right there. But then look at the next few days. March 31st, an increase of just 42 cases for that day. And for the whole week, the increase stayed below 75 cases. In fact, on Sunday night, we saw an increase of only 17 cases. Janelle.
Raj, another East Bay nursing home facility is dealing with an outbreak of COVID-19. The Carlton Senior Living Center in Pleasant Hill now has 13 cases. Both patients and staff members have tested positive. This is the second nursing home in the East Bay hit by the virus in the past week. NBC Bay Area's Jody Hernandez is in Pleasant Hill, where she's been talking to health officials.
This was the scene at the Carlton Senior Living Center in Pleasant Hill this afternoon. Each call for help is being treated with every precaution after health officials say 4 residents and 9 staff members tested positive for COVID-19. In nearby Orinda, another senior care center has also been hit by the virus. 27 patients and 22 staff members at the Orinda Care Center are positive. One patient died from the virus over the weekend.
Once you have it, you just have to pray and hang on and hope to get better, to come out the other end.
82-year-old Helene Stone lives next door to the Carlton Center in another residential care facility. She only goes out for her daily walk, but she's concerned by the outbreaks.
I think if one of us gets it, then I think we're all in danger in some way.
These are the most vulnerable people in our state.
Patricia McGinnis with the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform says not enough is being done to protect patients and staff at the state's 8,400 nursing and assisted living centers. She's calling for more testing and more protections for workers.
Any facility where you have an outbreak of even one person, everybody needs to be tested. And we need to make sure that we protect the workers there. We have to protect the workers because really they're the first responders to this.
Health officials say they are currently just testing people at this site who have symptoms, but they're evaluating the feasibility of testing everyone who lives and works here. In Pleasant Hill, I'm Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
Jody, thank you. Well, we saw this coming, and today it is official. Thousands of Bay Area students will finish the school year at home. 6 local counties all agreed that campuses will remain closed. California School Superintendent Tony Thurmond said the state is now working to supply all the districts with devices so the students can learn from home.
Some of our students have access to devices and internet, but many of them don't. And so we know we have to keep working to ensure that we close these digital divides that have existed in some cases for decades.
Thurmond is also asking any company that can donate computers, iPads, or other tech equipment to contact the State Department of Education.
Well, among the many challenges, what happens with high school students, especially juniors, now that they have to finish the school year from home and they got to worry about college and grades?
It's a critical time. A lot of confusion here. Let's bring in Jessica Geary, who's working from home. And really, you're working with your own daughter who's going through this, like Olivia, right?
Yeah, exactly. Junior year is the big year. That's the year that you really push. You have to get the good grades. You have to take the SAT and the ACT, all the things that go on your college application. And all that is now up in the air. Now, what's happening with the SAT and the ACT? Most of those have been canceled right now. In fact, Olivia was supposed to take her ACT last week, and then she's supposed to take the SAT next month, but that's not going to happen. So what is going to happen? And how is this going to affect admissions for thousands of kids across the country here in the Bay Area as well? So I talked to an ACT, SAT specialist who says his students are super bummed about this. Matthew Todd, this is what he does every single day, but he says, yes, it's a detour for students, but it is not the end of the road.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I'm working with tons of students, and all of them are just incredibly upset about it. They've been working for these tests in March, April, and May. They don't get to take them. They don't know if they'll even be a key part of the admissions process, and they're just very upset.
Where can they find some resources to maybe during this time be able to keep their skills sharp?
Oh, there are wonderful resources free of charge on the internet. You have Khan Academy, you have all kinds of people on YouTube. If a student wants to improve an SAT score, they can absolutely improve it. There are free tests everywhere, and the SAT and ACT administrators provide free tests all the time. So if somebody wants to improve, all they have to do is go onto, for instance, Google and type in SAT practice test.
And your best piece of advice for parents right now that may be freaking out?
Show no fear. The number one thing I can tell parents is your students are terrified right now. Make no mistake about that. They may be cranky.
Show no fear, show no fear, show no fear. I just keep repeating that to myself over and over again. Now, coming up a little bit later in the show, I'm going to share with you the inspirational viral post that I saw today from a Dublin high school teacher about what our kids will actually remember for this time. I got the post just as I was heading down the hallway to yell at Olivia, and it did stop me in my tracks. I think it might help other parents too.
I just remember when all of us were in this process, it was stressful back then. Couldn't imagine how stressful it is right now. Thank you, Jessica.
A dozen prominent doctors are calling on San Francisco to abandon mass shelters and instead move thousands of homeless into vacant hotel rooms. The doctors warn having 8,000 at-risk people living on the streets or in crowded shelters with common bathrooms will only spread the virus throughout the community.
The current response from the city is making people sick and leading us to disaster. Unless we take immediate and decisive action now, it's only a matter of time before we see a huge surge in cases across the city.
The city's current plan is to house more than 5,000 homeless in a dozen hotels, along with 4 mass shelters.
Small businesses are struggling to stay open, and now a boost from Facebook, specifically for the Bay Area. Facebook will provide grants to businesses hit hard during this pandemic. $15 million in grants will be spread throughout our region here in the Bay Area. Small business owners can begin applying for these grants by the end of this week.
Still to come, safety in the skies. Flight attendants say it's time to ground almost all planes in the U.S. We investigate.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Jeff Ranieri. I'll have details on the warmer temperatures tomorrow and a little bit of a shower chance that's sneaking back into the forecast. That's in about 6 minutes.
Are we on the verge of grounding all air traffic? The nation's flight attendants want all air travel halted except for critical personnel and cargo. They're worried about their safety and yours. Here's senior investigative reporter Stephen Stock.
The flight attendants and pilots I've talked to all asked to remain anonymous for fear of losing their jobs. At least 2 of them tested positive for COVID-19 only days after flying. Scenes captured by aviation photographer Molly Coma show the impact. A flight attendant alone in coach, another giving instructions to a nearly empty cabin, yet another walking an empty aisle. Other pictures show only a handful of people on board. In an odd twist, with so many flights canceled, some routes are jam-packed with passengers, as this picture shows, making social distancing nearly impossible. All of it concerns flight attendants we talk to.
Everyone's scared.
We spoke to flight attendants and pilots representing nearly every major domestic air carrier in the nation, plus one international airline.
How many passengers and flight attendants could possibly become infected?
A member of a closed Facebook group gave us access to posts by flight attendants expressing their worries and fears. All of them mirror the stories flight attendants told us directly.
We are still required to clean the lab, clean the kitchen, the galleys, and serve food, prepare the food, and pour the drinks, regardless of whether we have gloves or not. Flight attendants and pilots are stuck in a metal tube for hours at a time with passengers that are not respecting the stay-at-home order.
We reached out to 5 major airlines for comment. Southwest Airlines sent us a statement saying, quote, "Our first priority has always been and will continue to be the safety and well-being of our employees and customers. We are evaluating each flight attendant's situation during this dynamic time on a case-by-case basis to offer full support, and there are no penalties being assessed."
Are you scared?
I actually am.
5 of the flight attendants who agreed to talk with us are now sick. 2 tested positive for COVID-19 and say they likely had it the last time they flew but didn't know it. 3 more say they're exhibiting symptoms but can't get tested. 1 had to go to the hospital just as we were getting ready to interview her.
We do not need to have any leisure travel at this time.
Sarah Nelson is president of the Association of Flight Attendants, representing some 50,000 workers. They're now calling on all non-essential flights to be grounded, allowing for cargo and medical teams along with tourists returning home to continue flying.
In air travel, it's impossible to social distance. And so crews need the flights that don't need to be taking off to stay on the ground.
While they would not directly address the idea of grounding flights, a spokesperson for Airlines for America, a trade group, did say, quote, "Since the onset and throughout the duration of the COVID-19 crisis, U.S. carriers have closely followed and complied with all health and safety rules and will continue to do so."
It's violating the shelter-in-place order in the county that you're in.
Santa Clara County Supervisor Cindy Chavez says under current local restrictions, no one should be traveling unless it's a critical need, such as a medical team. But she acknowledges there's a gray area when it comes to enforcement.
If you don't need to travel, please don't do it.
As for that idea of grounding flights, an FAA spokesman told me, quote, "We do not have regulatory authority over people's decisions to fly or airlines' decisions to operate. It would likely take an executive order from the White House and the president to actually ground any domestic flights." I'm Stephen Stock, NBC Bay Area News.
You really feel for all those flight attendants. Thank you, Stephen. Well, a big part of our coverage is all the good, Janelle, that's happening in our community. We talk about it every night. Berkeley engineers now are getting creative with some of leftover supplies that they have.
Yeah, they're turning sleep apnea machines into ventilators. You can see what the machine looks like here. The new modifications allow the sleep apnea machine to accept pure oxygen. Then the air is filtered and delivered to the patient through a breathing tube. The makeshift ventilators will be used for non-ICU patients. Nice day for a swim if you are a whale. Sky Ranger caught one splashing around in the San Francisco Bay earlier today. We spotted it breach the surface a couple of times before heading back underwater and swimming away.
We should just loop that for an hour, put it on our website so people can look at it. That's a nice shot.
What a difference a day makes. The sun was out in full force and we soaked up every minute of it.
It was nice, Jeff.
Oh, it really was. And, you know, even when there was a little bit of that cloud cover moving on by at times, who cares about that? It just was stunning outside. A nice rebound from those 3 days in a row of rainfall. In case you've been inside homeschooling the kids, making dinner, working yourself, I wanted to make sure to get you a blue sky camera shot right now. And one of the best is coming to us from down here through the Santa Clara Valley. It's our high definition camera over downtown San Jose. And you'll see right off towards the distance here just a few puffy cumulus clouds Otherwise, there's that blue sky for you. Right now, we have 61 degrees, drop into some 50s tonight, and we'll see some clouds beginning to build back as we move into early tomorrow morning. Now, I wanted to make sure to give you a close look at that forecast in case you're getting up tomorrow around 7 a.m. to do some meditating, some yoga. We're all trying to make some time for ourselves. Make sure to have that jacket. Temperatures will be in the 40s for most of the Bay Area, except near San Francisco, Oakland, and San Mateo. You'll be in the low 50s. Now, notice the afternoon highs. We are going up to some of my warmest temperatures in the North Bay tomorrow. 69 in Napa, 69 Santa Rosa, and 73 in Clear Lake. Cloud cover will start with some morning low clouds tomorrow, 8 o'clock, but there's your partly cloudy skies as we move through the day. So I don't see any big problems on Wednesday, but I have to make you aware of a small change in the forecast. This system to the south, it's going to bring up a slight chance of a spotty shower on Thursday. We'll go over that, and then we'll talk about that nice weather coming in for this weekend and those 70-degree temperatures. I'll have that for you in about 25 minutes. We'll also update you on the snowpack and really show you the big difference we've made in about a 30 to 45-day period.
That is good news. Thank you, Jeff. We'll see you shortly.
Yeah.
Up next here at 6 o'clock, we need all the help we can get, right? The good advice a Bay Area high school teacher is giving to all parents overseeing their kids' education.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jessica Geary coming live from my home studio in Pleasanton. This week, Pleasanton Unified, where my daughter Olivia goes to school, is on spring break, which means she's not doing any distance learning at all, so she has more time in her hands than usual. So Olivia is amusing herself these days, aside from sleeping, from also combining two things that she really enjoys, which is making fun of me and doing TikTok videos. So watch this.
Mom. Okay, that is... Mom.
Why this is amusing, I'm not 100% sure. It's odd and it's weird, but apparently she's really enjoying doing that. So weird. Okay, so today I got a Facebook post sent to me that really stopped me in my tracks, because I was just about to head down the hallway and start yelling at people for not being productive. And I saw this Facebook post by a teacher named Erin DeMartini. She's a special ed teacher out of Dublin Unified. And she wrote something with some very sage advice for all of us parents that are stressed out. She wrote, if you look at this, she goes, she says, reminds us that our kids are just as scared and nervous as we are. And she goes on to talk about how, you know, the idea of being out for 4 weeks and not go to school sounds great in theory, but when you don't get to see your friends, it's certainly very different. And that we all have a lot of plans and schedules and stuff that we want them to do. But she says, she closes by saying that at the end of this, really, it's your kids' mental health is more important than anything else. And what they're going to remember for this time is how you spent the time, and not actually all the things that they learned or information that they retained. So I thought that was good advice to pass along, and it did keep me from walking down the hall. So there was a lot less yelling at the Aguirre household today, at least today.
I like the groaning and grunting on TikTok. I can't get that out of my mind.
She just wants to be with you and capture every moment with you. I think it's so sweet. Thanks, Jessica.
That is nice. Thank you.
It was odd.
Here's what the new normal looks like at the home of Scott Budman, our longtime business and tech reporter. What is that, Janelle? It's a blanket fort built by one of his daughters, looking to be left alone. Dad, leave me alone. Scott notes it's hard to socially distance from the rest of the family, apparently.
Nice fort. Well, coming up next at 6:30, the Grand Princess greeted by protesters as it docks in San Francisco. The extra help they want for the crew still stuck on board.
Also, clearer skies and cleaner air. Does lighter traffic have to do with this? The answer is actually more complicated than you might think. Stay with us. Right now at 6:30, take a look. That is the Grand Princess cruise ship docked at its home port for the first time since February, but the nightmare continues for hundreds of people that are still stuck on board. What a mess this has been. That ship was held at sea, then brought to the port of Oakland, then to the bay, and now in San Francisco at the dock.
Yeah, there are more than 500 crew members still on board. The ship docked today, pick up supplies, and then will leave again. Here's NBC Bay Area's Sonia Shin.
The Grand Princess docked around noon today and was greeted by picketers who were demanding better treatment of the nearly 615 crew members still aboard the ship.
The CDC has cleared all people on board the vessel, and the vessel has been disinfected and does not pose any risk to the health of the public or the community.
But protesters are skeptical that the ship can be properly disinfected with hundreds of people still on board.
The people united!
They accuse the company of being more worried about profits than the health of its workers and want Princess Cruises held responsible for the death of a worker who contracted the virus.
Like other crew members and passengers, this worker was denied adequate access to full testing, humane treatment, and safe quarantine, all of which might have prevented this catastrophe.
The groups are demanding Princess provide more testing for the crew, counseling, full wages, and to cover the full cost of getting the crew home. Princess Cruises released a statement today saying the health and safety of the crew remains a top priority, that they've been following CDC guidelines, and they're finalizing a plan to get the crew members home. The crew members completed a 14-day quarantine and a month-long period of self-isolation. The ship will depart from the port later today or tomorrow after restocking. There's no word on its final destination. In San Francisco, Sonia Shin, NBC Bay Area News.
Well, President Trump says it's going to be a very painful week, but the coronavirus task force says there are some signs of hope.
By the time we get to the fall, that we will have this under control enough that it certainly will not be the way it is now, where people are shutting schools. My optimistic side tells me that we'll be able to renew to a certain extent, but it's going to be different.
Dr. Fauci emphasized the virus likely won't disappear. Vice President Mike Pence says we're starting to see stabilization in hotspots like New York and New Orleans. So it's really hard to navigate the news cycle each day, trying to determine, are we really making progress? Here in California, the governor says we are slowing the spread, but our peak is yet to come.
But that curve continues to rise, just not at the slope that originally was projected without the kind of interventions, these non-pharmaceutical interventions like physical distancing have provided for.
The governor says physical distancing and the shelter-at-home order have brought the state some valuable time to prepare for that potential surge in patients. California has nearly 16,000 confirmed reported cases.
Well, we may all be stuck inside, but the view outside is beautiful. The skies are clear, air quality is pretty good. Fewer cars on the roads means less pollution in the air. The Air Quality Management District estimates that the drop in traffic would cut CO2 emissions by more than 25% here in the Bay Area. Joining us now from Oakland is Walter Wallace, Public Information Officer for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. Hi, Walter. Thanks so much for joining us. What a beautiful day, really blue skies. How much is the sheltering at home really contributing to our cleaner air?
Well, the sheltering at home is definitely contributing. There's many less cars on the road than we normally see. But it's important to remember that another contributing factor to the good air quality is also the fact that we just had a weather system that came through and really just pushed forth that really clean air. So there's multiple factors into why we have clean air, but absolutely having fewer cars on the road plays a major role.
We said it was about 25%. Is that an accurate description with the shelter at home?
Yeah, so the estimates that I heard are roughly around 20% to 25%. It's right around that ballpark. So I would say that's a fair estimate.
Can you compare our air quality this year to the same time last year? The biggest difference, would you just say it's because the fewer cars and maybe this weather system, or are there other factors?
So that's one of the questions that I actually asked our meteorology team about, and it's one of the things that they're still actually compounding the data to kind of see exactly how it compares with previous years. Definitely the cars going to play a role. With so many fewer cars on the road, you're going to have much better air quality. But during this time of year, we usually do have better air quality in comparison with other portions of the year. So as of right now, it's hard to say exactly what all the sources are, but air quality is one of the sources that is improving. The cars being off the road is one of the sources that's improving air quality, but it's also to remember that the industry levels are also improving, and also there's fewer people who are burning wood. So we really want to continue to encourage people to limit their wood burning, because that also helps with the good air quality as well.
Yeah, the nicer weather helps. So I guess winter it's worse because a lot of people are burning wood. Summer's bad because of the wildfires. So springtime is usually the best time for good air quality because of the storms that wash out all the pollution and pollen and the less traffic.
You hit it on the head. Pretty much that's what we're basing it off of. In the spring, we usually get really good weather, and then with the fewer cars on the road, we're just seeing the positive impacts. And as you can see, with the day-to-day looking beautiful.
Okay, Walter, before we go, I know air quality is your expertise. What do you think this shelter home will do? Do you think this will encourage people to change their habits, commute less, maybe encourage businesses to decide just to have their employees, more of them working from home, since it appears to be working well for many companies?
You know, we as a government agency, we really can't comment on that specifically. But what I will say is that, you know, having fewer people on the roads is definitely improving air quality. I know that it's been a big adjustment for a lot of people. For us personally, you know, working at home has been an adjustment. It's been pretty positively met, but you know, for us, we just want to continue to protect public health, and we have our inspectors out there just to make sure that everybody knows our inspectors are still inspecting and still providing permits to businesses, and that's really where our #1 concern is, just protecting public health.
Okay, keep up the good work. Walter Wallace with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. We'll all get outside right now since the air is so clean and take a huge breath in during this stressful time. Thanks, Walter, for joining us.
We are enjoying the fresh air and clean air as well. Well, no relief for small businesses on the peninsula, at least some of them, not for now, at least now. Today, San Mateo County supervisors considered a moratorium that would have banned evictions of small businesses impacted by COVID-19. But during their video conference, the board voted it down. The moratorium would have applied to businesses that make less than $2.5 million in revenue each year. Well, it's a sign of the times. Another drive-through grocery store, this one in San Jose. Choice Lunch is a school lunch delivery service that normally delivers food to schools, but since campuses are closed, the company launched Choice Lunch Pantry. It's now open along Remuda Lane near Zanka Road. The food comes straight from the distributors, and workers will bring it right to your car. It's important to note you have to order food 2 days in advance. And we have a programming note for you. Tonight, a primetime NBC News special. Lester Holt hosts our hour with NBC News correspondents across the globe. Find out what's happening in this race for a vaccine. And we're going to take a closer look at where experts say we need more testing right now. That's tonight at 10 p.m. right here on NBC Bay Area.
Still to come, a new way to keep the virus from spreading. The tool Santa Clara County Sheriff's deputies are setting up to keep first responders from taking the virus home with them. That's next. The impact of COVID-19 continues to grip businesses nationwide. A Seattle-based real estate company announced it's slashing a big chunk of its workforce. Redfin says it's having to cut 7% of its staff and furlough 41% of its field agents. Company leaders say it's because of the impact COVID-19 is having on the company. The CEO, however, says Redfin will try its hardest to bring back everyone on furlough. The majority is furloughed until September 1st.
Well, not a drive-through. This is a walk-through service for all first responders. Take a look. Today, the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department opened this. It's a 24-hour decontamination facility. Any first responder can show up day or night, go through the decontamination process, then get a clean change of clothes and some peace of mind.
And I think this is a much needed critical asset for the county of Santa Clara, and making sure this is open for not only all law enforcement, but first responders in general is just an amazing thing.
There are nearly 1,300 positive cases in Santa Clara County, including several first responders who were infected.
San Francisco Mayor London Breed gave her blood today. It happened during the so-called Give for a Gay blood drive in San Francisco, hosted by State Senator Scott Wiener. The drive had two purposes: to encourage people to give blood on behalf of their gay friends because of the FDA's ban on blood donations from gay and bisexual men who have not been celibate for 3 months, and also to address the shortage of blood due to the COVID-19 crisis.
Let's head to Jeff Ranieri. Is it, by the way, Jeff, is it a living room or family room? Did we ever clarify where you're coming from?
I would say living room, yes. You know, I've got some sun coming in the windows right now. We can see that blue sky as well. I'll take you outside through our Sky Camera network. We'll talk about a few showers before much warmer weather. That's in about 7 minutes.
They can't go to their destination because of the virus. Now some of the lodging hosts are refusing refunds. I'm consumer investigator Chris Camora. NBC Bay Area responds next.